What's up, y'all? Schrodinger back with another video, and I received a request to make a video on what I carry in my pack on my hikes and during my thru hike of the AT. So I'm gonna go a step farther. I'm gonna go over what I carry in my pack, and I'm also gonna go over everything that I've ever carried while hiking, either whether it's thru hiking the AT or on little day and section hikes. I'm gonna go over everything. I'm gonna give my thoughts behind it and kind of why maybe I had this and I changed to this, or why I've kept this. And I just want to really give like an idea and try and give like a full, especially if you want to get into hiking, and maybe it'll give you some insights on maybe I want to carry this gear, maybe I want to carry this gear, and kind of how I've evolved as a hiker. So first thing I'm going to be starting with is the packs that I've used. So I've had two different packs. One, you see here, is the Rei Trail Brake 60. Now I honestly can't say enough good about this pack. This is an amazing pack, and it has all the bells and whistles. It's a 60-liter pack, if you couldn't tell by the name, and it's got you actually have down at the bottom is like a I think it's for a sleeping bag, and you can, if the first thing you want out is your sleeping bag or whatever you want to put down here, and you can open up the bottom and take it out, so that way you're not digging through your whole pack to get whatever's out of the bottom. It's also got a nice brain. Unfortunately, it's not removable. I think it's like a 10-liter brain. And if you're looking for maybe a more versatile pack, some use as a day pack, maybe this isn't the one for you because the brain is non-removable. You got two really nice hip belt pockets, one on either side, and the hip belt is nice and padded. You got a lot of padding in the back, and it's very adjustable. This is very much a one-size-fits-all. You can use this, anybody can use this pretty much, and it's pretty cheap. I can't remember exactly how much I paid for it. For all of this gear, I'm going to be trying to put links in the description on what where you can get these, whether it's REI or what is it, a cottage company, one of the smaller companies. Try to avoid Amazon just because they sell enough stuff. But this is a great pack, and like I said, it has all the bells and whistles, and I realized pretty early that I didn't need all the bells and whistles. I barely needed a bell, and I definitely didn't need the whistles. So I switched to a much smaller pack. This is the Mountainsmith Zerk 40. So this, the biggest difference between this pack and my previous pack is that this pack, the Trail Brake 60, is an internal frame pack. It sits really nice in your back. It's like it's a true hiking backpack, where this pack is not an internal frame. It doesn't have any frame at all. The most you have is just a small little foam pad that fits in here just to provide some cushion on your back, and it is removable. So if I can get it out. So I can take this pad out. So if you, for whatever reason, want to take out this tiny amount of weight out of the pack, that is absolutely an option for you. But I really like this pack. It doesn't have hip belt pockets. It actually has a fully removable hip belt, so if that's not your thing, you can take it off. It's also nice for like day hikes. You can just take the hip belt off, and you don't have to worry about them. You just throw it in the pack or leave it behind. It has two really big pockets on either side for water bottles and whatever else. I store like a substantial amount of stuff in those side pockets. You'd be amazed how much you can keep in them. I keep a lot of snacks and stuff in there on top of my water bottles. And then it also has these running vest shoulder strap pockets, and these are fantastic. Especially as you're going along, you can keep your sports bars, Cliff bars. You can if you want to, you can actually keep water bottles up here if you have smaller water bottles. I tried to keep like liter water bottles up here one time, and it didn't work. And then it also has a roll top, which is, I think, a lot better. It's a lot lighter. You just have these two little buckles instead of the bigger buckles that are on the bigger packs. And then you also have a pretty large front area where you can store just anything in here. I'll keep like some of my warmer clothes in there. Like if I take them off and I don't want to open my pack in the middle of the day, I'll just keep them in there. Usually my doo-doo kit, my trowel and stuff. I can't even think of what people normally call it, but my trowel and stuff like that, and all. I'll keep it in there. And yeah, I love this pack. It fits me very well. I think it's a very specific type of person that it's going to fit. You know, if you like the internal frame, carry the internal frame. But I got tired of carrying a lot of weight, so I switched over to the much lighter pack that I thought would work better for me, and I haven't gone back. That's just my opinion on it. You know, a lot of people are going to like I know a lot of people who just kept the internal frame because they like how it sits. I will say some bad things about each of them. The Trail Brake 60, it's heavy. You know, I think it weighs like 4 or 5 pounds, something like that. It's a pretty heavy pack, which is why I got rid of it. You know, it has too much for what I needed. I didn't need it all. And some bad about the Zerk 40 here. So one thing is that these hip belts, I don't know how well you can see this, but it has this little metal piece right here. And before, when I first got it, I actually have it turned towards the top of the pack. When I first got the pack, it's set up so that these are down and pointed down like into your hips, and they kind of stab you in the side, and it like really hurts. Especially if it's sitting on you for a while and you don't have it set up right, depending on, like, you know, if you're wearing like tighter shorts or something and it's kind of pushing, you know, you just create a lot of pressure and it starts to hurt. But it was fixed really easily. I just switched them around, I just switched sides with them. But now I have like a weird left-handed buckle where normally like I'd use my right hand to kind of unclip this and pull it away. I don't know, it's weird. I have to use my left hand now. It's like, it's such a small minor thing, but it's very annoying. But overall, both of these packs, really great packs. Just, I prefer the lighter pack. I prefer, you know, a little bit more functionality, and I also just don't need to carry 60 liters worth of stuff. I never have. I don't think I ever will, unless I go on like a winter trip, which is why I've kept it, because, you know, as a starter backpack, amazing, you know, fantastic pack. If I was doing like a winter trip, yeah, I'm definitely taking that because I'm going to need to carry more stuff. But for what I need it for, the smaller, lighter pack is perfect. All right, so the next part of the Big Four that I want to talk about, and if you don't know what the Big Four in hiking is, it's your backpack, your sleeping pad, your sleeping bag, and your shelter. Those are the four like heaviest things that you're going to carry, and they're the things you need to plan around the most, like as you're hiking and everything, and depending on the weather and, you know, whatever. Those are the four things, the most important things. I'm going to talk about the sleeping pad next. I've had 2 sleeping pads ever. I've had an inflatable, and I've had a closed cell foam pack. And again, it just depends on what you're looking for. The first sleeping pad that I had was a Climate Static 5, and it was a super cheap sleeping pad, inflatable. It was like $50, which is really cheap as far as you know, hiking like sleeping pads go, and it was great especially for if you're like, you know, just looking to do some summer trips, maybe like, you know, 2 or 3 days. And it has a really low R value, and if you don't, again, R value is, you know, that measures the insulation properties of your sleeping pad. So 1.3 is like it's like warm weather. You're not really getting much insulation there. You know, the nicer ones, like if you're in the winter, you want to go for something around 5. In the summer, you know, 1 was fine for what I needed, and it was a great sleeping pad. The reason I got rid of it is because about 1,200 miles in, it popped, and it popped right when I came out of town. So I spent 3 nights sleeping with no sleeping pad. I was just on the ground, and it was really frustrating to me, and I just was fed up with inflatables. And the first thing I did, I actually went to a Cabela's that was in the town that I was going to, and I picked up this. I don't know, I guess Ascend is the brand. I don't know if they have a name for it. This is generic. I think it was honestly like $25. And it folds out. It's about 6 feet long. You have 2 sides to it. You have a reflective side, and you have a darker side. And the reflective side is for when you're camping, like in colder weather. It has an R value of 2.2 if I remember right, and as you're sleeping on the reflective side, it'll reflect heat back up to you, and then the darker side, it'll absorb heat and put it into the ground. So this is your warmer weather side, this is your colder weather side, and it's honestly really nice if you sleep on your back it's perfect. You know, this is the way to go. It's very light. I think this is less than a pound, where my other one was like a pound and a half, maybe 2. And the reason I don't like this as much, and why I'm actually going to switch away from it, I have another sleeping pad ordered. It's a big Agnes. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but that is an inflatable, and I'm getting rid of the closed cell foam because I'm a side sleeper. And honestly, while I had this, I was probably waking up every hour and a half to roll over because like my hip and my shoulder would go numb. And you know, if you're just doing 3 days, 3 or 4 days out, it's doable, you know. Because then I'd go in, I'd get a hotel or go to a hostel, and I'd actually get a bed and I'd sleep well. Some of my upcoming hikes, I'm looking, you know, I probably won't be able to go in quite as much. It'll probably be, you know, maybe a week out at a time, maybe 8 or 9 days out at a time. And that's just not going to do. I don't think I can handle that, sleeping like that over and over again every night and waking up every hour and a half and really just not getting any sleep. So I'm switching back to an inflatable. Those are just my recommendations again. And what you're looking for. The climate, great, super, like perfect budget pack. If you're just looking to, you only want to do, you know, a couple day hikes, and honestly, I mean, even a through hike, it's perfect because it lasted me 1,200 miles. I saw people who were spending like $300 on sleeping pads, and it wouldn't even last them, you know, 1,000 miles. And I was getting way more use out of it, out of this $50 that I spent, than, you know, people were getting out of just insane amounts of money that they were spending. And then the closed cell foam, any type, you know, you get it's like the Nemo Switchback, I think was the real popular one I saw. It's a little bit lighter than this one I got, but if you're a side sleeper, kind of be wary. I know people who were side sleepers and they were fine with them. I don't know. It doesn't work for me. It worked for me for a little bit, but I'm kind of fed up with it. And then, yeah, switching over to a big Agnes. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but again, it'll be in the description. And I've seen people with them, and they never have any complaints. It's got an R value of like 4 or like 4.5. It's super insulated and just a lot more comfortable. The one thing I will say about like the nicer, if you get like a nice light inflatable pad, it's gonna be really loud. That's just almost a given. So if you roll around a lot, don't sleep in shelters. Don't be that person, please. Like that is the worst thing to have in a shelter. Like it snores, and people with everyone just called them potato chip bags because there's like, it sounds like you're sleeping on a bag of potato chips. So be courteous if you're going to get a nice sleeping pad. And I guess that's it for sleeping pads. All right, so the next thing I'm going to talk about, and it's part of the big 4, is the thing that's changed the most, if you can't tell by the pile that is in front of me, is my sleeping bags. I could just never really settle on anything that I liked. I started out, I gotta see, this is a Marmot Trestles 15, a 15 degree bag. I think it's actually an 18 degree bag. And if I was doing like real cold weather hiking, this would be a great bag. It is synthetic, so it's pretty heavy, which is a big reason why I got rid of it. And also, I don't think I ever once slept in it like it was an actual sleeping bag. I always just used it as a quilt because it would never got cold. I started, you know, late April, so I was never really cold at the beginning of the trail. And by the time I got rid of this, I don't think it got below 50 degrees. So I switched over to a down sleeping bag. This Kelty Galactic 30 degree bag. Now this is a really good budget option. It's like 500 fill down, and I actually got gear shamed about it. I was in a shelter, and some people were talking about the fill on their sleeping bag, like, oh yeah, I have like 700, I have 900, and blah blah blah, and saying how nice their bags were. And I was like, oh yeah, I think my bag's like 500 fill. Some guy looked at me, he's like, they go that low? So don't let that fool you. This is a really good sleeping bag. It was pretty warm. I had it through the Smokies all the way into what was that? I think Dansville, Dansville, Virginia, so about the 1/3 mark, and I carried it for a couple 100 miles, and I really liked it. It is fairly light. I don't know exactly how much it weighs. I think it's 2 pounds, which from the almost 4 pounds of the Marmot, significant improvement. I felt like I was floating up mountains at that point because I had gotten so much weight out of my pack. And this bag though it is really good. It's, especially if you're like looking for a budget option. I think at the Nantahala Outdoor Center, so obviously everything's gonna be a little bit marked up there. I got it for like less than $100, like $80. I didn't look at it online yet, but it wasn't expensive, even when I was buying it somewhere where it should be very expensive. The next bag I switched over to, not even a bag, this was very appropriately dubbed my blankie. You can't really see it, or you might be able to tell, but this is so thin. It's pretty much not insulated. It's a big Agnes Kings Canyon Ultralight synthetic fill quilt. And I would say like what the temperature rating is on it, but it doesn't have one. It's just a warm weather quilt. It's not like 60 degree. It's like, I went into a gear shop and I asked the guy, I was like, hey, I need something that like I need it for warm weather because I'm too hot in the sleeping bag that I have, but I need something to like cover myself up and like not really insulate me at all. And he was like, I have just the thing. And he brought this to me. And it seems like I should have just like, it's like, oh, once it got below like 50 degrees, I'd have to switch over. But I actually used this sleeping bag, or this quilt, all the way till the end of the trail. I was, in the White Mountains, like camping just below Alpine Zone and staying warm enough that I was actually sleeping. I mean, I was chilly, but I'm also a very, very warm sleeper. If it's 30 if it was 30 degrees, I could sleep with this quilt. I didn't need anything more, just with the clothes that I had that would insulate me, and I would, not like survive where I'm sitting there. I would actually get sleep. And a lot of people were surprised, but I just sleep very warm, so it worked for me. Definitely won't work for a lot of people, because I know some people were like, it could be 60 degrees out and they're like shivering in a 30-degree bag, where, they just slept very cold. So if you're a super, super warm sleeper, big Agnes Kings Canyon Ultralight, not a bad quilt to pick up, and especially for, summer. My most recent acquisition in the way of sleeping bags is another quilt, and this time I decided to go with something really nice. It's the Enlightened Equipment. I'm just gonna Enlightened Equipment Revelation, I think. It comes with this this isn't the stuff sack. Anytime you have like a down or a sleeping bag or anything, or like the fluffy, poofy type of fill, if it's synthetic, you never want to store it in the stuff sack because it'll mash all that stuff together, and then you won't have the insulating properties of it. But it's just looks like a normal quilt. One thing about Enlightened Equipment is that they have these little things here and the straps, and you can actually put those underneath your sleeping pad, and it kind of holds it tight to you, so your sleeping pad and your quilt kind of become one unit, and you won't get like as bad of drafts coming in underneath your sleeping pad. I know I've had a lot of issues with that, where I'm like wrapping it around myself. But it also has, I'll bring it all the way out. I got one that I can bring all the way out to basically just be a blanket, but it has the zippered and like kind of cinched shut foot box, so I can take this and open it all the way up, and then have just flat foot box to give it, and like if it gets warmer and I'm still carrying this, and at the same time I can also zip up the foot box so it's totally shut, and pull this as tight as I can. And when I was using it, you'd think you'd get a little bit of draft through, but it actually squeezes up pretty tight, and you only just end up with a very small hole, and I didn't notice any draft. That was keeping me cool. And then you have buttons along it, and if you don't want to use the straps and you just want to have a small sleeping bag, you can just still clip these together. You don't need the straps. So this is also very nice if you want to spend a little bit, spend that extra money, get some 800 fill down, and ball out a little bit on your gear, and then you can go and ask people, wow, 500, I didn't even know they went that low. And you can get one of these. It's honestly unnecessary unless you're like going for a through hike and want to devote yourself to hiking. Weekend hikes, the Kelty Galactic would be just fine. It's pretty cheap, still has great insulation, and it's fairly light. I think the Enlightened equipment, I think, is like right around a pound, just over a pound if I remember right, where the Kelty is like 2 pounds. So just over a pound, 2 pounds. And if you're not super worried about weight, you're not trying to go like ultralight, you'll be just fine with the Kelty. And honestly, like the saying is, ounce or pounds are pain. You get used to it and you won't even notice the weight after a while, which this is coming from a guy who tries to be as ultralight as possible. But if you get rid of the huge weights and as long as your pack's comfortable, you'll get used to it, your body will get used to it, and you'll feel fine with whatever weight you have on your back. Alright, so the last of the big four that I'm going to go over is the shelter. So shelter, I've also gone through some changes, just kind of figuring out what I like. And the first thing I started with, and the simplest thing, is the Tungsten Marmot one-person tent. Or the Marmot Tungsten, but I think the brand is Marmot and it's a Tungsten one-person tent. Now this tent is really nice as a beginner tent. It's freestanding, so it comes with the trekking poles. I don't know, they're right here, and you just carry these with you. You go into camp, you set it up, and you're good to go. It stands up on its own. You don't have to worry about carrying trekking poles with you. You don't have to worry about any of that. And it's a really nice tent. It also has a rain fly and a footprint that comes with it. The whole setup comes with it, and it works great. I honestly just had no problems with it while I was using it. It was just another one of those things where I was tired of it, of the amount of space it took up my pack, and I was tired of how heavy it was. And I decided to switch, and I just wanted something even more minimal. Which the thing about the Tungsten is that a lot of people have they'll carry a 2-person tent because they want more room. A 1-person tent was like 7/8 of me. It was not quite enough width. I mean, my sleeping pad was right in the it's kind of squished in there, and I really didn't have any room to move around, which I kind of liked. Just my personal preference. It like kept me in place. If I was sleeping like on a bit of an incline, I knew I wasn't going to slide around really. I just sleep sideways on the incline, and I knew I wasn't going to go anywhere, which was nice. And then I had just enough room at the end of my pack or at the end of my tent to set my pack there. Obviously food bag outside, but then all the rest of it, I could either set it in the vestibule or I could set it inside the tent. Like if it was going to rain or the ground was a little bit wet, I could very easily pull my pack inside. And then I switched over because again, I just wanted to get some weight out of my pack, and I switched over to a Outdoor Research Helium Bivvy. This is actually inside out because I cleaned it once I got back from my hike, and I haven't used it since. But try to get this. It's Outdoor Research, and again, this is another one of those things that was really nice as a bivvy. It does come with a small setup, like a pole setup, so you have a little bit of room above your head, so it'll kind of be laying on your feet and your legs, but at least you'll have space around your head. When I was using the bivvy, I could actually was fully able to sit in there. I could have my Kindle in there or a book, and I could read. I could look at my phone. I never had any issues moving. I actually could I couldn't sit up, but I could lay on my side and kind of prop myself up on an elbow, and I could sit there and have no issues with it. It does have sort of a bug net if you don't want it on your face. The one problem with the bug net is that it's I don't know if I was using it wrong or something, but it's weirdly set up that when you're completely enclosed, it's everything sets just fine, and nothing will lay on your face. But when you open up the rain, basically the rain fly, and just want to use the bug net will kind of lay on your face, and then bugs can bite you. So you have to like sit back farther, and it's also just kind of laying on your face. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't. You can kind of like pin it up and like get it right, but it never really like worked for me, which wasn't the reason why I got rid of it. I mean, I did like it. I would have stuck with it for a while, but after using it, I kind of realized that I didn't care so much about the weight of the tent. The biggest, the thing that I did not like the most was like setting it up. You get into camp, you have to set up the tent. You wake up in the morning, the first thing you have to do is take down the tent and the bivvy, and it was always like such a pain to me. And I really like started to like find a love of cowboy camping and sleeping in shelters. So my last shelter is actually underneath. It is just I got a tarp. It's a 9x12 Brooks Range Mountaineering tarp. And again, I went into a gear shop, and I told the guy working there, I was like, I just want like a tarp, and I really was going to continue using my bivvy, but I didn't want to have to, or I was worried about all my stuff getting wet. It sits in my pack. I don't have anywhere to put it, whereas like in a tent, I could, you put it in the vestibule, you put it inside the tent, and it'll stay dry, but I didn't have anywhere to put my stuff, so I was kind of worried about that, and I really just wanted like a small tarp. I was going to set it up so if it was raining, I had like double protection. I didn't have to worry about closing up, like completely closing up the rain fly on the bivvy, and I could sit in it, have the bug net, and then have a tarp over me with my stuff sitting next to me. And then he pointed out this tarp, and he said, you're really gonna like this. So I switched over to it. I started using the tarp. I found out that it is absolutely the way that I love to camp. The first night I had it, I was in like a thunderstorm, like torrential downpour, lightning cracking around us. It got pretty bad, and I mean, I didn't stay dry. You're never gonna wake up dry if you're cowboy camping or using a tarp, because of dew is gonna settle on you. The rain will splash onto you. It never happens. But I can tell you get used to it. If you do decide to tarp camp, you'll get used to kind of waking up with a little bit of dew on you. Late in the trail, I was so used to like waking up with it, and I try and convince people to cowboy camp, because I just loved it. And if you enjoy something, you want other people to experience it, especially if they're like, oh yeah, I've never cowboy camped. Like, well, let's go sleep under the stars. It's gonna be a nice night. So I would try and convince people, and they would wake up and they'd be like mad that like all their stuff was wet, and like, oh, my sleeping bag is soaked and my pack's wet and blah blah blah, and my shoes are wet. And I would sit there and kind of think and be like, I don't even notice anything. I don't notice that I'm wet anymore. That's just kind of how it was. I just got used to it. So that is one thing. And if it does rain, or if rain is predicted and you do have to camp underneath the tarp, you kind of got to be really choosy about where you're going to set up, because tents have an advantage, because they have like it's called a bathtub, where the bottom of the tent will kind of curve up, and if it is really raining, it'll just wash underneath your tent. It'll feel weird. You'll be kind of sketched out about it, and if you have any holes, you're gonna have a bad night. But overall, you're gonna stay dry. If there's no holes in the bottom of your tent, you're gonna be okay. Whereas with a tarp, you have to set up kind of on top of like a hill, so that way water's not flowing underneath you. Maybe not on top of a hill, but on top of a little rise. You're not gonna want to set up in any low areas. Like a lot of the spots, like you go to a campsite and they'll have like a tent site ready to go, like set up, and those just aren't good for tarp camping, because a lot of times they dig those out and they get them flat and everything, and then so many people have camped there that they end up not being good spots for the tarp, because if it rains, the water pools in them. So this is something to look out for when you're tarp camping. But again, all these are just kind of, take my advice. I prefer tarp camping, but that's just me. I know a lot of people that carried a freestanding tent the whole time. I didn't meet too many people with bivvies. It's just kind of a rare thing. I actually stopped using mine and was like gonna only use it in emergencies. I did use it for bugs a couple times, but most of the time it was just like my pack liner in my pack, um, and just keep all my stuff dry. And that's pretty much it for shelters. The other type of shelter is like the trekking pole tents. I never used one. They're probably the most common on big trails. I've heard a lot of good things, so they seem really nice. I just haven't gotten around to using one, and I don't really know where to start with them. So for now, I just stick with my tarp and be happy with that, I guess. So I was just finishing up editing the video, and I realized that I hadn't recorded an outro, and I do think they're important, so I'm going to go ahead and record one now. Um, I will say, like, I apologize for not being able to cover everything in my pack. I thought, a 30-minute video was enough. Like, just listening to me talk about random pieces of gear for an hour is a bit excessive, so I'm going to have this video, and then the next video is going to be everything that I'm currently covering in my pack. The miscellaneous stuff, kind of the older stuff, doesn't matter as much. So the next video will be everything that I'm currently carrying in my pack, so just be on the lookout for that. I mean, it takes me a little bit of time to make these videos because I'm not very good at video editing and stuff, and I'm, kind of just have other stuff going on, so I can't get around to it right away. But just a heads up that will be my next video. If you learn anything from this video, and you were looking for something for advice on what you should buy, and now you kind of know what you're going to buy, go ahead and leave a like on the video. Be really appreciated, because this feel like I don't know, I just want this video to get out as many people as possible, because if I motivate 10 people to go out and hike a little bit and do what they love and improve their life a bit, that'd be awesome. If you like the videos that I'm making and want to keep watching them and keep seeing the content and watch my future hikes, and go ahead and subscribe, or don't. I mean, do whatever you want. That's the way life is. You gotta live doing whatever you want. And then if you do have any video requests, go ahead and leave a comment and just say what you want to do, and I'll do my best to get around to it. It might take me 2 videos, and because I'll just brainstorm off of it and have more ideas. But just drop a comment on what you want to see, and I'll get around to doing it. So thanks for watching. And I have to redo all that.